All right, guys. So a federal judge finally came out and said some things that I've basically been saying for a long time now in regards to how the media is treating January 6th versus what happened all last year between the BLM and Antifa riots, right? He's saying, why is those two events treated so differently when they're essentially the same, right? They're essentially the same event, right? They all stem from some sort of political cause, right? In which you are upset about what's happening in the government. It's the same thing, right? It's the exact same thing. But for whatever reason, mainstream media has told us to ignore those things and that, you know, that's not a big deal. That's not really violence, right? It's fiery but peaceful. But yet, January 6th is the worst thing ever, right? It's the worst thing ever. Worse than 9/11, they say, right? Worse than 9/11. Yeah, even though we saw billions of dollars of damage, businesses looted, businesses burned down, people were attacked, people died, right? Way more people died from what happened all last year than what happened on January 6th, right? Those are just the facts. But nobody's saying that these BLM riots / Antifa riots are worse than 9/11, right? That's not what anybody's saying. So a judge has sparked a much needed conversation about this that I hope pours into the mainstream media as to why the January 6th protesters / rioters, whatever you want to call them, are being treated so differently. So let's read here. Rejecting the recommendation of prosecutors, a federal judge sentenced a January 6th rioter to probation on Friday and suggested that the Justice Department was being too hard on those who broke into the Capitol compared to the people arrested during anti-racism protests following George Floyd's murder. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden questioned why federal prosecutors had not brought more cases against those accused in the 2020 summertime protests, reading out statistics on riot cases in the nation's capital that were not prosecuted. Quote, I think the U.S. attorney would have more credibility if it was even-handed in its concern about riots and mobs in this city, McFadden said during Daniel Doyle's sentencing for entering the Capitol on January 6th with a throng of other rioters. Prosecutors recommended 2 months of home confinement for Doyle, who is from Oklahoma. All right, so this judge was appointed by Trump, and like I said, he said some things that needed to be said, right? There is clearly a stark difference in treatment between two different groups of people committing similar acts of political violence, in which honestly I would say that the BLM riots and Antifa riots are much worse than January 6th. But hey, essentially it's both political violence that should not be tolerated in this country from either side. But for whatever reason, that is a controversial stance in 2021. Now, another judge is essentially taking pop shots, right? She is subtweeting, right? The judge that basically said that January 6 rioters are being treated unfairly compared to the BLM rioters, right? So this judge, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, calls it a false equivalence, says, quote, to compare the actions of people protesting mostly peacefully for civil rights to a mob that was trying to overthrow the government. She said doing so ignores the very real dangers that the January 6th riots pose to the foundation of our democracy. I can see right off the bat, her not comparing the two and not putting them on the same playing field, even though one is obviously worse than the other in terms of damages and lives lost, actually is a threat to not only our democracy, but small businesses and people's lives, as well as the rule of law and the morale of our law enforcement officers across the country, right? Who we've seen quitting left and right because these departments are defunding the police, and these officers don't have faith that the departments and the government is going to back them up when they have to do their jobs, right? But this debate has spilled over into mainstream media, right? As we have CNN bringing on a special guest, right? A CNN employee / man that's currently might go to court over certain accusations, Don Lemon, to give his opinion on these judges and their back and forth regarding whether or not you can compare what happened on January 6th to the BLM riot. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and I'm going to chime in with my opinion.
And built on actual facts.
There are many people who agree with the judge who conflates the two, right? They don't see the difference between riots where someone is breaking into a shoe store and looting, and a riot where you have people entering the Capitol while Congress is in session certifying an election.
There is no difference, right? That's why. Because there's not a difference. Anybody that's actually looking at the two objectively, honestly, real talk, if you want to look at all the left-wing protests that have not just happened last year, but just ever since Trump got in office generally, right? Or even before that, I mean, you had this stuff happening on Obama. At one point, guys, we had people storming the Capitol in protest of Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination / confirmation, right? So we've seen leftists literally storm the Capitol to stop a democratic government process. We've seen that. So these same people, they go on TV like, we've never seen this before. They're liars, right? You're lying. Or you're just not aware of it. And if you're not aware of it, then why are you on TV? Why are you calling yourself a political journalist? You should be aware that this has happened from the left not too long ago. But yet they don't frame that as an insurrection. It's not an insurrection trying to essentially keep a appointed judge from being confirmed to the Supreme Court. Oh, no. That's not an insurrection, right? That's not a threat to democracy for whatever reason, right? But a failed January 6th riot, that's an insurrection. Oh, that's a threat to democracy, right? I mean, I don't really get it. I don't understand. Anybody looking at this stuff objectively, in my opinion, right, at the very least can compare it to, really, if you're being honest, BLM and T for the left wing protest, they're way worse. They're way worse by any objective measure, right? Whether we're talking about damages, lives lost, impact on this country, right? What impact has January 6th had on this country outside of what happened in the Capitol that day? I mean, seriously, there has really been no real impact outside of that and, more censorship and all types of other stuff. And again, I'm not saying January 6th was good. I've condemned January 6th. I've said January 6th is bad 1,000 times, right? However, we have to be objective when we're comparing political violence. And that's the problem. These people are not. They claim to be concerned about it, but they're not when it comes to left-wing violence in this country. I'm concerned about both, right? I'm trying to be fair. But these people are just not even trying to do that at all.
One, a shoe can be replaced. And the vote is the value of a shoe. Again, no one should be doing that. No one should be stealing anything from anyone. The other one, can you replace a democracy?
All right. First of all, the lives lost during the BLM / Antifa protest cannot be replaced. I hope that I can go on CNN one day. This is my dream, to go on CNN with Don Lemon or MSNBC with Joy Reid and call them out on their BS in front of their face. Because I will ask Don, can those lives lost during the BLM protest, can they come back? No, they can't. They can't be replaced, right? Those lives can't be replaced. They overlook the fact that people actually died, right? And then he wants to talk about democracy. Listen, Don, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that, the election is 100% legit and these people were protesting for nothing and then turn around and say we don't have a democracy. That's not how it works, right? If the elections are 100% legit, then we have a democracy, right? Democracy is functioning, right? It is functioning. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that shut up about the election, but yet we don't have a democracy. That doesn't make sense. Like, you can't have it that way, right? And that's what really bothers me about these people that want to talk about democracy. But yet when it comes to a sitting military general that tried to undermine the civilian leadership of the military, which is the president of the United States, that people elected to lead the military, he purposely tried to undermine him, right? Essentially, at the very least, committing a act of treason, right? Or an offer to commit treason. These people are not saying anything. They don't have anything to say about that, right? Except some of these clowns are actually calling General Miley a hero, right? A hero for offering to commit treason, right? They called him a great American hero. That's what these clowns are saying. So-called objective CNN. Things like that, along with the BLM riots and the calls for censorship coming from the authoritarian left, people like Don Lemon, those are real threats to democracy. But they don't want to talk about that. But a failed January 6th riot, our democracy is in danger. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I really don't.
How do you fix a broken democracy? That is, you can take a shoe and fix it or get another one.
According to you, Don, it's not broken. So what are you talking about? According to you, the democracy is not broken. Those people were rioting for no reason. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. Again, they're trying to have it both ways. And that's what really bothers me about this.
Right? Or an insurance policy can replace a shoe. An insurance policy cannot replace a democracy or fix our broken republic or fix racism or fix a lie that has been spread by one person and the people who enable him. So there's quite a difference. I think the people who see the same, want to see the same, again, not operating in reality. And
Don Lemon, see it here. The people that don't see it the way we see it are not operating in reality. Again, the same network that told us that the BLM protests were fiery but peaceful. And they're trying to say we're not operating in reality. Oh, BLM protests, not a super spreader event, right? Not a super spreader event. Operating in reality. Russia collusion, right? Trump is a Manchurian candidate that is Putin's puppet, okay? These same people that push conspiracy after conspiracy after conspiracy, whether that's Trump, whether it's distorting the truth about the BLM riots, these are the same people that want to talk about people not seeing reality. When you guys are the ones that are actively trying to distort reality, CNN is a propaganda network. Again, this is the pot calling the kettle black, right? That's what this is.
if you look at the reality check of what John said, if you look at the reality check of having George Floyd's brother on, and you see what's happening in the New York City Police Department, you see what's happening all over the country, again, people see what they want to see, and they allow their own racism to come to light.
It's racist if you don't see it CNN's view, right? That's what he's saying. If you don't agree with me, then you're racist. That's what he's saying, right? If you say that, January 6th and BLM, they're both acts of political violence. They both should be condemned. You're a racist, right? You're a racist. This is how you know they don't have an argument. When you don't have an argument, you resort to saying, well, if you don't agree with me, then you're racist. That's what you do, right? When you do have an argument, you compare the facts, right? You look at, okay, how much damage was done? What was the actual end result? How many people lost their lives? What was the ongoing impact afterwards? You look at those things. If you look down the list of those things, it's not even like the BLM protests and riots and Antifa riots as well, all that stuff. It's way worse. Way worse. Not trying to excuse January 6th. I'm just saying, objectively speaking, they're both bad, but BLM is worse. But see, Don Lemon, these people, they can't even acknowledge that what happened last year was bad. They won't even acknowledge it. And then they always want to use this pathetic excuse, talking about, well, they was protesting systemic racism and police brutality. No, they were protesting based off a lie, right? A lie that white police officers are killing black people in the street indiscriminately just for no reason. That's what they're protesting, right? That's what they're protesting about. They were protesting a lie, right? Since people want to talk about people protesting about a lie, how about that lie, Don? That's the lie that BLM was protesting based off of, okay? It blows my mind how they sit on TV and can say this with a straight face and then try to accuse other people of not operating in reality. It's crazy.
We see it. We get it. But you don't want to see it and you don't want to get it. So those who are saying that...
You don't want to see it and you don't want to get it, Don. You don't want to. Anything that comes from the left is good. Anything that comes from the right is bad. That's the way you look at it. Period. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Again, CNN, Don Lemon accusing other people of doing exactly what they're doing.
There's not systemic racism. There is no difference between those things. Come on, you're not working.
You say, how do we fix a broken democracy?
Oh my God. Anyways, yeah, I want to respond to that just because I'm glad that, these judges have sparked this conversation, and I hope that the conversation goes either further, right? If this is an argument going on between judges and more judges that feel this way, that, hey, you know what? These people aren't being treated fairly compared to what happened with BLM riders. They need to speak out. They need to speak up. They need to say something. Because, again, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. There are some people in this world that actually want to look at things objectively and to call wrong out for what is wrong, regardless of what side of the political aisle is on. There are some people like that. There's other people who just want to be propaganda artists and want to just push one narrative and ignore principles. Okay? Who would rather see the country burn and people lose their lives and stores and businesses be looted simply to push a narrative and to get Orange Man out of office. They'd rather do that than actually call it what it is and to point out objective truth. So, like I said, man, I hope this conversation continues. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.